guys, girls, gamers, everyone. It's me, Genuineparts, and I am here in the Pretty, the Bearded, and the Bald podcast with the lovely TeeggieBeeggie.
Hello.
And the handsome and rugged Ephjizilla.
Yeah, rugged, rough, more like it, I think.
Okay.
He's a mountain man.
So,
are you genuine?
I'm fine.
That's good.
Good.
A bit longer up than usually.
Yeah,
That's good. Yeah.
So, we are this week discussing a few topics like virtual reality. We saw in the recent times a big influx on advanced 3D in the cinema and Oculus Rift, and Sony is working on its own 3D glasses, or virtual reality headset, better said. So, and that's not a new development. I guess in the times of games, there was the Game Boy. What was it called? The Game Boy, the headset that you could wear?
The 3D.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So there were numerous times where 3D and virtual reality was becoming a thing, but it never really got foot in the mainstream. So is this recent influx going to stay, or will it fade away like every other attempt?
Well, I mean, the current kind of push for virtual reality and 3D it's been driven fundamentally by the Oculus Rift. You know, the Oculus Rift had a very successful crowdfunding campaign, inspired a lot of kind of support, and delivered a product which seemed to be pretty immersive, to the point where eventually, of course, it was bought by Facebook, yes, which is a bit of a concern, possibly. But that might tell us something about the possibility of it actually becoming a technology that is invested in more, because I think that's always been the failing of virtual reality, is that it's always been a gimmick, a fad, something that's attached to a product but never really supported through development of, in the gaming of games and things like that. With big companies like Facebook getting involved, and Google doing things like Google Glass, where I think they're probably going to expand that out eventually to incorporate more virtual reality sort of aspects. Possibly it might have a bit of life in it this time around. But that said, I think it's also kind of got this issue where it's always sort of been predicted as that's going to be the next step, and it's almost like people are struggling to make that happen, not because it's a good direction to go, but because it's kind of expected as the direction to go. And I don't know whether virtual reality necessarily offers us anything significantly different or more immersive, really, than what we can kind of get through just screens already.
I think my virtual reality nowadays just always seems to be, as you said, a tag on to something that we've already got. It's never sort of explored as the product itself. So it's always like, well, you can watch this movie, or you can watch it in 3D. You can play this game, or you can use an Oculus Rift to play it. It sort of needs its own focus, I think, to be really good. And for me personally, virtual reality will never be the go-to thing I go to unless it works really well. Like, this is why I don't have a 3D telly in my house, because you can only watch them if you're sat right in front of the television and you have to wear glasses. And that's not comfy when I want to, scooch up on the sofa, and if you haven't got a perfectly square room, it's not. So it's not like something that's easily put into our lives. So I think the same thing with gaming. I know the Oculus Rift. I mean, when Rob saw it, he just went, batshit, like, oh, I've got to have it. But then he plays the kind of games that it would probably work really well with. He likes to play flight simulators and driving simulators, those kind of games where being in it and being able to look over your shoulder and those kind of things would really make a difference. Whereas playing it with, Minecraft, for example, I mean, really, is there a point? I don't think so. Put yourself in the virtual square blocky world. I don't get it. And I don't think it would be necessarily comfortable and work very well for a game like that. And like I say, I haven't tried the Oculus Rift. I've seen videos of it, and it does look awesome. It does look really cool. But it's got to to become mainstream, it's got to be easy to use. It's got to be comfortable, and it's got to be straight away when you sit at your computer, mouse, keyboard, easy peasy. It's not a big faff. It's not a big tag on. So yeah, that would be my sort of point of view on the virtual. I mean, I'd love to see it more. I think it'd be awesome. I mean, I'm a huge sci-fi nerd, so anything that has holograms coming into my living room, stuff like that, would just be so.
So you practically want a holodeck. Well, Facebook, works.
I mean, yeah, if that's how I would see. That's how I would love it. If someone could come up with, it's not an add-on to video gaming. It's a new thing. I've created this pod that you can go and stand in and act out the game, or something like that. So it's not just being constantly tagged on to try and fit to something that's already there. It has to be its own thing, I think.
Well,
and I don't think gamers are necessarily the people to develop it. Does that make sense? Because you'll always be thinking of game, whereas something like a holodeck, it doesn't have to just be games, does it? It could be how you live out some fantasies, how you practice things for, say, learning new skills in a job, or, it doesn't just have to be about gaming.
But virtual reality is used far out from gaming. It's around in a lot of stuff.
Well, you were saying about use in hospitals and stuff, yeah.
So I don't think it's a gaming only thing, but I think for gaming, as you two said, it's kind of clunky. You have an extra device lying around. You have a game to have the support for an Oculus Rift. I'm not sure it's going to be the next big thing. Not for forever. I think it will go the way every virtual reality device has gone. For now, it might find
until
its
it's seamless.
I think it might find its niche with the support of Facebook, because I'm really not sure what Facebook is going to do with it.
I don't think anyone
link up.
It is.
I don't need 3D glasses for my Facebook, to be honest. I don't need Facebook.
Well, I mean,
to take pictures of your dinner.
It is interesting because I think one of the barriers to devices such as the Oculus Rift becoming mainstream is, if you think about for hardcore gamers, we kick everyone out of the room and we sit there and we put hours into playing this game staring at a screen. In that case, sure, you put on the goggles, you can mess around as much as you want. But for a lot of people, gaming is something they do, like watching television. There might be other people to talk to and
a
stuff.
bit of time.
Exactly. Yeah. And really, once you put on the Oculus Rift, everyone else is closed out. There's no kind of communication aside from you being in the game. And I think that's not necessarily going to fit with a lot of casual gamers, or just, less hardcore gamers if you want. So I think that's a massive barrier to it. And I'm not sure exactly how they're going to overcome that. But the interesting thing is, when we went to the Perth Game Festival a couple of weeks ago, and we asked the developers about what they thought the future of gaming was going to be, almost without fault, they said, I expect it's going to be something like the Oculus Rift. And these are people making games. So, I mean, if developers are seeing it as a direction that it might be heading in, then that means that possibly there's going to be more focus on developing stuff for it, which could then push it. But the thing is, of course, that gaming is a consumer-driven sort of market. And if the consumers are not buying it, then it will fall to the wayside. And I don't think any amount of development or back-end sort of stuff is going to make people want something they can't really use or don't really use. Yeah.
Well, that raises the other point as well, of course, is the price barrier. I mean, I looked at the Oculus Rift for Rob when it was still in development, when they were selling the development kits, and I think it was £300 UK.
Yeah.
So by the time you've bought your £300 console and your £40 games for it, and then you've got to spend another £300 on just the headset so you can look around your shoulders. I think, like you say, for hardcore gamers, that's not going to probably be an issue. It's that is what I spend my money on. But your casual, everyday, I want to play some Forza on my is it PlayStation, Xbox?
Yeah.
Nearly got that wrong. Are they going to spend £300 on a new Xbox and then be like, oh, well, okay, I've got to spend another £300 on a headset just for it?
Well, the price will definitely go down, because they with the second development kit, they used prefabricated screens from, I think it was an LG phone, And so they are working on getting the price cheaper and
bringing the price down. Yeah.
As always, if you produce more of it, you get the parts cheaper, and it will. The price will go down. It's not even officially released at the moment.
But if it's going to be something that is the future of gaming, then I think it needs to be part and parcel of if you buy a console, it comes with Oculus Rift, it comes with its the Xbox virtual reality headset, those kind of things. You don't, you have to buy extra controllers for your consoles, but they cost like 20-30 quid. No, they're not expensive really.
Like Xbox tacked on the Kinect for the Xbox One now. So I think that will probably happen if Sony is developing its own for PS4. So I think there will be a bundle where the PS4 is sold with their headset if that ever comes out. Because no words from that.
So Teeggie, you haven't used one obviously because
No, I've seen it in action though.
Yeah, have you used one?
I've seen the videos and stuff.
I have held one and wore one, but I haven't played a game with it. I can only say that the weight is a little bit distracting because it does weigh a lot at the moment.
Well, that's what I've seen with the videos that people have said they've played with it for half an hour, and then afterwards they've had to stop and take a break because the pain in their neck and things like that. And I mean, that's no fun, is it? I like to spend all day gaming sometimes.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, I've messed around on one for 15, 20 minutes or so, and in the end, it just made me feel really sick. I just got motion sickness from it.
Really?
And so I could pretty much guarantee that I wouldn't buy one if they were readily available. Just because, I didn't find it to be a particularly pleasant experience. But I know people that have them who love it. They'll spend hours and hours and find it an incredibly immersive sort of experience as well. Playing such Minecraft of all things as well, and they find that it's this strange sort of feeling when you take it off. You step into the real world, which is not all blocky, and it seems like it seems to be strange. But so I think
Why can't I punch this tree?
Yeah, it does. I think have the capacity to offer something that perhaps ordinary or standard the mill sort of gaming doesn't offer.
Yeah, maybe it's a person-to-person thing.
Yeah, I think possibly what it is. Yeah. So who knows? I think there's certainly some exploration to be done in the world of virtual reality, but I don't know if it's quite there yet.
We will see. We will see. Only time will tell.
Yeah. Time will tell.
Which brings us to the next in virtual reality and immersion, and people not can differentiate between the game world and the real world. There is a new game announced. It's called Hatred, and it's essentially a killing simulator, as described by the gaming press, because you're playing a guy that runs just postal. He goes postal and he kills innocent people, and that's it for the backstory. The violence is apparently incredibly gruesome and detailed, and that caused a big upstir in the media, as expected for violent games that focus on violence. Is that okay? Should we just accept violent for the sake of being violent in games as well? That's something we have to accept or try. Or is it just a marketing ploy? Yeah, we go out and make the most violent game, so maybe it will sell well because the gaming media will be all over it. Gigi.
I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Genuine. It's a marketing ploy. I mean, I read an interview with the guy, the Polish guy who made it, and that's pretty much exactly what he said. We are a small development. We'd never get any attention for our games, but by making this, we're getting loads of attention. I don't think we can necessarily criticize people for the games they make. We talked a couple of weeks ago about whether games could be considered an art form, and they are a creative thing. People make movies that are just, blood killing and there's no backstory. I wouldn't personally watch them because I like to watch stuff that has a story, and I'm not against violence in films or games if there's a reason for it. You couldn't make a game about World War II and there not be any violence in it. It'd be a pretty rubbish game. But I don't think we can criticize for someone making this kind of game. It's up to them what they choose to make. However, I'm not going to buy it. It's not going to be fun for me. I probably wouldn't let my children buy it. I certainly wouldn't tell you I wouldn't let my children buy it. But yeah, massive marketing ploy. And from the interview I read with the guy, okay, this is just a superficial opinion. He seemed to be a bit of a, teenage brat was the impression I was getting across, was basically like, yeah, well, it's cool to kill people. And like, oh, whatever, mate. I won't buy your game.
or it was, again, a marketing facade he put on.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, he could have been acting up like that so that he would get people like us commenting that, that's what they were like, which is a savvy marketing ploy at the end of the day. You've got to sell your game. You've got to make money somehow. And he is all over the internet because of it. So,
FG.
I mean,
I'm still not going to buy it.
there's been an ongoing debate for many, many years now about violence in gaming. And it's a difficult one because I think there has to be a point, regardless of whether you're talking about games, films, or other, at which a line is kind of drawn in the sand, and it says that I guess this kind of stuff can't be released to the broader public. So imagine, let's say, this game. I think this game really. I mean, it's callous and it's there's brutal murder. There's no real backstory. It's just, as you said, a killing simulator. But I wouldn't actually say that this is a game that shouldn't be released. I think it's a game that should probably be restricted in access. Certainly you don't want 15-year-old kids going in there and buying this game. But a adult making a conscious decision to buy the game, I don't think there's a problem with that. But let's imagine. Okay, so let's say it's not a killing simulator. Let's say it's a sexual violence simulator. Okay, do we then say that's something that's perfectly fine? If a killing simulator doesn't lead to people acting violently in real life, can we therefore use that to justify any sort of game being made or any sort of content in games? I'm not sure.
You need to look at the crossover between movies and films. If you're looking at a game as a story, there's certain types of film that are illegal, child pornography, sexual violence, things like that. But those things can also be portrayed in a film as part of a story. So that you need to try and, like you said, that line, you need to work out where. And it's quite easy for me where the line is on this game because there is no story. So you're not trying to describe something. And I mean, I'm like I said, I would hope that the free market would deal with this itself, that people wouldn't buy it. But the sexual violence thing, that is illegal in this country to make movies of sexual violence and things like that. So as far as I'm concerned, that wouldn't be released here. I really hope. Blimey.
Well, this game won't be released in Australia, I can guarantee that. Just because there is no justification for the violence. It's purely violence for violence's sake, and that is one of the criteria for banning.
Do you guys have the same as us here? There's age restrictions on games, so like 15, 18? Yeah, same. The only problem we have here is they are not enforced very well.
We've only just got an 18+ rating. Prior to that, I think it was M15, basically. Okay. Which meant that a lot of games which were able to be released in other countries under a higher rating, and a PEGI 18 rating or something like that, simply weren't able to be released in Australia. But even with that rating, this game would not fall within the scope of what's basically the censorship board would just ban.
Well, that's where the free market's coming into play, isn't it? Or a whole country is saying, we're not going to sell your game, mate.
Well, I think there'll be a whole country of people arguing about that. Yeah, there'll be a whole bunch of people over here very, very angry about the fact they can't legally get this game.
Yeah, possibly.
Well, in Germany, next country over, they have a very, very strict. They have an own institution rating every game and putting games that don't fit in their categories on an index, and it makes them illegal to possess and illegal to advert, and they can actually repossess all the games that have been rated for not suitable for anyone. We in Austria, we don't have that system. We go with the general European system, PEGI, and we just get usually the uncut stuff as PEGI 18. But Germany has also for a long time now talked about banning violent games altogether. They just outright stated they would pass a law to ban those games. It hasn't happened yet, and frankly, I think it won't happen because they would kill an entire industry that Germany has quite a lot of. But yeah, and as you said, you wouldn't want kids to play it, and as Teeggie then said, the system isn't enforced at all. I'm not sure where I would draw the line for games like this. I mean, there's always the media discussion, are games influencing what we do? If it was that TG would go out finding square trees and punch them with their fist, I would sit in cars, tune them up, and race them down the street.
Let's be honest, you would do that.
Yeah, I would if I had the money. But as I see in the game, I don't have the money anyway. And FG, you would be I don't know what.
I'd probably at this point in time I'd probably be island hopping in some.
Oh you sit on a little
pirating around.
Well, you're working on it. The beard telling tales.
I do what I can.
So, probably.
I mean, you're getting into a whole discussion about psychology then, about what influences us, and I'm sure there's someone that's making an argument somewhere that by having these kind of games, people aren't acting out on these fantasies because they can act out on them within a game in a safe environment instead of being a harm to the general public. But then there's the other argument, of course, that might influence you to go and do these things because you've done it in a video game. And I don't think there's any way you can restrict or control that, but looking, being good human beings and looking out for the people around us, knowing who people are, how they behave. And if you're seeing like red flags, then, maybe speak to someone.
Yeah. I mean, the data seems to suggest that there isn't really any meaningful correlation between violent video games and violent behavior. There are circumstances in which individuals who are predisposed to violent behavior may be stimulated further to engage in violent behavior through extremely violent video games. But there's also counter evidence that suggests that sometimes those violent video games may actually help suppress their violent behaviors as well. So there's even those very minority of circumstances, there's no clear indication that violent video games actually have an effect. But I think, really the standard, I think, for determining in any respect whether something should be restricted or not restricted it comes down to does it cause harm? And if it's morally objectionable, well, that doesn't necessarily mean it causes harm. So that's not a good enough reason to prevent something.
No, you can make a moral decision not to partake in that activity, can't you?
The moment you start relying on morals to determine what can and can't be accessed, you're allowing one group to impose their kind of views on another group, and that's not really acceptable. Whereas harm can be measured objectively. And that's kind of an ethical standpoint. If this causes harm and the harm is unacceptable that it causes or is completely avoidable that it causes, then there should be some restriction. And I think that the data seems to suggest that the violent video games don't necessarily cause harm. And certainly there are plenty of examples of other things that are perfectly allowable in most free societies, which cause far more harm than violent video games do anyway, like smoking and drinking alcohol. All those sorts of things, which are completely legal and people are allowed to decide whether they want to engage in those activities or not. And I think that, video games and violent films and so on should be held to the same sort of standard. And to do otherwise would be hypocritical. So in the context of that, as much as I think this game is certainly not my cup of tea and not particularly a great expression of games that can be made, I don't think it should be restricted. I don't think it should be banned. I think it should certainly be some restrictions, but that not completely.
I mean, I'm of the opinion that games fall under the same heading as films, paintings. It's a creative art form. Anyone can create whatever they like. Whether I choose to read it, watch it, play it is something different. And I will not be playing hatred.
Yes.
It's essentially a chicken and egg problem. Did the game make a person violent, or was a violent person playing the game because he was already violent and he was his rant?
But the argument comes up time and time again. It was Marilyn Manson 20 years ago was making us all violent teenagers. I mean, I did okay. And it's just it's a quick and easy blame by general society.
It's always the quiet ones.
Come
on, you GP.
Yeah.
Well, if I ever go postal, I will uninstall all my games that would be considered violent and would install like
get them off YouTube.
Teletubbies and Farming Simulator and well, they have something to think about then.
Outlaw farming. Driving people to
farming is banned now. It makes violence.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, on the topic of banning, we have a lot of banning topics today. There was
down with games.
Yeah. The developer of Paranautical Activity, a small early access game on Steam, indie, has vented his frustration with Steam on Twitter, resulting into the famous words, "I will kill Gabe Newell." Upon which Valve, really not surprisingly, took the game from Steam. He took his head, essentially he gave up, he sold his company and retracted from game development because Valve has a monopoly, as he said. And there's something really, really funny about the whole thing because he doesn't see, he hasn't really learned anything about it. I read his statements that he released after that, and there is no arguing that what he did is stupid. But what actually bothers me, is it okay for Steam to actually take a game off Steam because one of the devs is stupid? Is it censorship because he is stupid? We can't play the game on Steam anymore. I'm not sure. Discuss this. Anyone of you?
I mean, it's a very complicated thing because, so Steam offers a service to gamers and it offers a service to game makers, to developers and publishers and so on. It's a distribution service, and when developers get their game on Steam, either via Greenlight or through a publisher or whatever, they're entering into a business relationship. Now, if you take this out of the game world and you put it into another context, and you have, I don't know, let me see, a company, a shop that is selling your handmade, handmade cups. Here we go. Here's your handmade. I've been making these cups by hand, and this shop has decided to sell my cups. However, they put them at the back of the store where no one could see them, and I went on Twitter and said, I'm going to kill the owner of this shop. Now, I think in that context, any reasonable person would say that the shop is well within their rights to stop trying to sell my stuff. Why would they? And this is effectively exactly what has happened. So in that business kind of relationship, by all means, if a business partner, an associate, is threatening to kill another business partner or associate, then they should end business with each other. I mean, that's an obvious thing. And I think Steam is well within their rights. Where it becomes complicated, however, is this is one individual speaking on behalf of his company, so to speak, an indie company. So, he's the driving force behind the game. But there are a lot of people who are suffering as a result of his stupid actions. All the other people that were involved in making and working on this game in various capacities are now being punished as a result of his stupid tweets. And that's not really fair on them. But I suppose that said, when you get into a company with someone and you allow them to speak on behalf of your company, you suffer the consequences of their poor PR. Yeah.
Probably.
So
I mean, I have been a teenage girl, so I immediately recognize this whole situation because that's all it is. It's flipping teenage girl drama. Somebody's gotten upset and they've thrown an offhand comment out there, and then somebody else has taken it as this massive thing and going, "Oh, screw you, love you." The problem is, it's flipping Twitter. You should not be speaking on Twitter unless you are a professional PR person.
Exactly.
That's pretty much it. Because, and we've all said it in the past, oh my God, I'm going to fucking kill my boss. You're not actually going to kill them. And Steam were overreacted by going, they made a death threat against us. It's like,
I don't think Steam took it seriously, or they would have got the police involved. They wanted to teach him a lesson, essentially.
But they've written, a death threat was made against us in an article I've made. So, they might not have taken it seriously, but they're portraying that they took it as a serious death threat when everyone knows it wasn't. They're completely within their rights to, as you say, remove the game. But I did get a bit upset with them saying, "Oh yeah, we're removing it because of a death threat." They should have said, "Well, we're removing it because he's an unprofessional person, and we don't want to be associated with that kind of person."
Yeah.
That I would have been like, sweet, brilliant, because yeah, he is. He, brought his teenage drama to Twitter and made an idiot of himself. And what's he achieved by it? He's then had another massive overreaction where he's gone, well, screw you lot. I'm resigning. I'm out of here. When all he had to do was say, I'm really sorry. I made a stupid mistake. I should have, let myself chill out a little bit before and spoke to Steam directly. I've spoken to them now and it's all sorted. The game's back online. Hope you all enjoy it. Yeah. It could have just been dealt with so much better. But this is the problem with game developers also trying to be their PR agents, their own PR
agents. You're absolutely right there. Yeah. But I think also it indicates it's attached to a bigger issue, and that is, I think, and it's something that's become a big deal in the past couple of months, and that is the idea of people threatening and harassing each other online. And usually the people who are being threatened and harassed don't really have any leverage. They can't really do a great deal about it. They just got to sit there and take it. Steam has leverage. So in a way, I kind of see their response as being, them taking the opportunity for once to actually kind of, in a sense, punish someone who makes these absurd threats online. And in a way, that's okay.
I find, though, is that they're actually belittling genuine harassment and threats, because one person said in one tweet an offhand comment that we've all said to other people. There is a difference between a prolonged attack of emails saying, I'm going to do this to you, I'm going to find you, I've seen you walk home, and then them throwing their, doing what they did over one little sentence. It kind of makes me think, well, now all you're going to get is everyone going, oh my God, he death threatened me. And so we all get fed up of that because everybody's banging on about it when they get one nasty comment made against it. So then the poor person that is actually having this prolonged series of attacks, when they try and get for help, they get looked on as, oh, you're just another person who's whinging about. It's just the internet, one offhand comment, when they might have actually been suffering for a long time to, real harassment. But it gets overlooked because so many people are whinging about this, just internet fighting, bickering as such. It's the same that you get in in the real world with issues of rape and stuff, where women are afraid to come forward and stalking because so many people are crying wolf when one bloke even just looks at them, that when they actually have a real problem, they're like, well, there's no point me going because they'll all just think I'm a stupid girl that don't like men or something. And so that it does upset me a little bit. I don't mind someone bringing to light and making a stand if there was something to really make a stand against. But I'm not sure there was.
Yeah.
And to have it all dealt with out in the public eye. I mean, the first thing you're told in the world of the internet is if you receive harassment and things like this, don't publicize it. Don't put it out there. Deal with it. Call the police. And deal with it behind closed doors. Don't feed the trolls. All those kind of things.
Well, Steam didn't really publicize it before it blew up because he made the thread public on Twitter and Steam just removed it. And then the thing blew up in the media and Steam released a statement then because they were probably bothered by journalists. Why? Did
you think then that Steam had to take this response? I mean, do you agree with how they responded to?
From what I understand, they removed the game. They didn't speak to this guy first. Is that right? They just removed the game?
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
So why did they not just speak to this guy first?
Would you speak to someone who gives you a death? Yes, I know it's not serious. It's not serious in your eyes, but in other
no, death threats are serious in my eyes.
Yeah.
Don't get that confused.
But you mean that devs obviously didn't mean it seriously. It's what he said.
If you read all of his tweets, the previous tweets are all like, oh, Steam are doing this, they're doing that, they're doing this. Oh, I'm going to fucking kill him. That is, please admit to me that everyone has had that rant at some point in their life. He made the mistake of putting it on Twitter. That was a huge mistake, a really big mistake. But all it took was one person from Steam to email the guy and say, what's the issue? And I think that you should retract that last tweet or at least make an apology for it because obviously the death threat thing is serious and we don't want people to think that this is a good thing. They could have then come to some agreement or disagreement, and then Steam could have said, we've removed the game. We tried to work with the developer to get this resolved, but unfortunately, we couldn't come to a satisfactory conclusion.
You say it was clear from his all other tweets that it wasn't serious, intentional. But where does it get serious, in your opinion? Why couldn't he just have snapped at that very moment, took a gun, flew out to Seattle, and tried to kill Dave Newell?
Yeah, he could have, but I didn't say that they should ignore it, did I? I said there's a different way of dealing with it, a better way that wouldn't have had all this huge blow. I mean, this is what I mean. It's teenage drama. You've had fights with your friends and it's just gone out of control. And then you look back and you think, God, I could have dealt with that so much better and it wouldn't have ended up in this absolute mess.
There have people been raided by the police because they made a joke, an obvious joke about bombing an airport. And everyone is
There's a slight difference between saying you're going to go on a mass murder spree to a rant that ends with, because his whole previous tweets were saying, oh, they've screwed up, they've done this, oh, I'm going to fucking kill him. There's a difference between that and just one person saying, I am going to go bomb Devon Airport today.
Well, it was in a joke, in the context of a joke.
Oh, well, okay. I don't know then. Maybe I'm wrong. I just think it was handled appallingly.
And if you read online how to deal with death threats, you are always told not to contact him, not to acknowledge him. I'm just...
Yeah, but there is a massive difference, Genuine. You've got to admit, between some crazy stalker and someone you work with that you're supposed to have a channel of communication with.
You have never seen that guy in person, if you're Wolf. He could be.
Yeah, but you don't have to know. You can type an email. I'm not saying you've got to go around his house and have a cup of tea.
Solve this dispute.
I mean, I don't know. I think there are arguments to be had on both sides. I think that in the current context of online interactions, especially in the world of gaming, that I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with a zero tolerance policy with regards to any threat, joking or otherwise. I don't think there's really that much wrong with a policy like that. However, in these circumstances, I think it is obvious to the vast majority of people who've looked through his tweets that it was, as Teeggie's characterized it, him venting frustration, no serious intent behind it. That said, I would support Valve if they want to take that stance, that anyone who makes any threat to any member, and they do have a duty of care to their employees, to protect their employees from harassment perceived or intentional. So I can accept that Valve should, in this circumstance, take the side of their employees. And if their employees have reason, whether it's well-grounded or not, to feel as if they're being harassed or threatened or whatever, then Valve should absolutely take a hardline stance against the person who is perpetrating that, even if it is a joke. I think there is some merit to that. But in these circumstances, I do also believe that Teeggie is right, that it could have been managed much more effectively, but also the dev has no one to blame but himself. You don't.
Yeah, I mean, he's an idiot. True.
Exactly, and the consequences for his own actions are something that he could have easily have foreseen, and should have foreseen, and he should have definitely employed a PR guy instead of managing his own Twitter account. All of those things are true. I do support Valve's response purely because of the context of people's communications online and just how vitriolic it can become very easily. So I don't really have a problem with them saying, no, we just won't tolerate any of this sort of harassment.
I mean, I work in a customer-focused environment that has a zero tolerance policy on harassment and things like that. However, if I didn't deal with people that swore at me, shouted at me, called me horrible names every day, I wouldn't actually have a job to go to anymore, because I wouldn't have anyone to speak to.
Yeah.
So there's a way of dealing with it. If somebody said something like that to me on the phone, which they have done, and in person when I've been on site, you say, okay, that's inappropriate. I'm here to try and help you. if you want to calm down and we can talk about this, then fine, and we'll deal with it. And generally, after people have had that, prompt of, well, you're acting out of order here, mate, they apologize, rein it in, and you can carry on having a good business relationship.
Yeah.
If I immediately stormed off, got in my van, and went back to work, I guarantee you that would just bring in more complaints, issues of disciplinary, how did I behave with customers, those sort of things. So I think, yeah, I do support Steam removing the game. That's perfectly within their rights to do. However, I think there's a difference between removing your game because you've been able to unresolve an issue to removing a game because you can't be asked to resolve the issue.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fair enough.
So we TG and I obviously have completely different stances on the whole issue because I have cancelled customers' contracts before because they said they are going to kill me on the phone. I said, okay, well, thanks for your business. Your account is now cancelled, and did it as I talked to them. And then I was well in my right to decide that, and my boss backed me on that. So probably it's a personality thing. I mean, you're probably.
And I work in local government as well, so I'm technically a civil servant. So
yeah.
I possibly I don't work for a private company where, I have all the power. I work for the country.
Yeah, and there is no real. Apart from legislation, there's no real oversight of Steam. Steam is its own thing, and it has all the power in that relationship, and they can set the standards.
What I wanted to say, because he rambled on Steam being a monopoly. Steam is not a monopoly.
No, I was going to say about that earlier when he was saying, "Oh, you can't sell a game without Steam," but that's just not true, is it? I mean, there's plenty of games that I've played that aren't even on Steam.
Choice. Yeah. Customers made Steam popular. There is definitely competition, but the customers are on Steam, and that's not what a monopoly is.
Exactly right. I mean, if you go on Origin or you go on Uplay, you go on Sura, you see very quickly why Steam is the most successful distribution service, because it is the easiest to use, it's the most effective, it has the largest number of games, etc., etc. So it's just incredibly successful at what it does. It's not a monopoly. Yeah.
No, if a game is good enough and it's not on Steam, I'll still play it.
Yeah.
It's just got to be good enough.
Available. Yeah, it can be. It can absolutely be accessed. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's going to have to explore the other means of distributing his game now. Or thrown his hands in the air and said, "I'm not involved in it anymore." I guess. But
have you read his apology? He started off really well, or ended.
No,
really
I haven't
well.
actually had. I have not.
He
had
said,
a look at it.
"Well, if he gets back into gaming development, he will not be in a public eye of a company. He will be one of 1,000 anonymous working for another shitty company." And that's exactly what he said. He is
sounds like a great employment application. That one.
He will be.
Snap that guy up.
Everyone wants him.
I love his attitude. He's a real go-getter.
I really recommend him if you want.
The thing that got me about this is, because everyone's changing their name on Twitter to match Halloween.
Mike Murderbeck.
His name was Mike Murderbeck when he actually made the threat. Yeah. This is PR, guys. Come on. If you're an indie developer, get a PR guy.
Yeah, really.
Please. Although don't, because then we wouldn't have anything to talk about. So
that's true.
So
keep making silly mistakes on Twitter.
enjoy your 15 minutes of fame on PBB. Mr. Mike Murderbeck. Thank you for the stuff you did, because it's hilarious in hindsight.
But the other thing that I found amusing is that his actual name is Mike Malbeck.
Yeah.
So it's basically a horror name anyway.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to change his name. Oh well.
So, what have you been watching? Channels, videos?
What have I been watching? I've actually now this is a bit of a cheat. But I'm going to explain.
You guys owe 2 this week as well, don't you?
I know.
Yeah, I do. I've been watching actually my fellow channel member Wiz Diesel play through The Evil Within, which I find which he's doing on Facecam, and I found it just hilarious. But that's a good thing about having multiple people on working on your channel, is you get to see some content from them sometimes, which is quite funny. So that's what I've been watching that. And I will tell you in a moment, after Teeggie's told you what she's been watching, what else I've been watching.
Okay.
Quickly gets YouTube up.
I wouldn't do that.
I just subscribed to someone.
Well, I'm pretty boring actually. It's just been MC Collective guys because I've been trying to catch up on everyone, and of course we just released the first 2 episodes of our second season UHC. So trying to watch everyone's point of view of that is really good fun. And I have been watching some new tutorials for 1.8 redstone farming and things like that. So that's been fun. It's all Minecraft always.
And what about you, Genuine? What have you been watching?
You need more time. Okay.
I do. I'm just looking at my recently watched stuff.
I've watched House of Cheese. He's smaller Let's Player. He's a cool guy. So I've been watching him. But mostly I've been watching his TeeggieBeeggie the UHC videos because it's really fun when you hear what others say while you're playing. That's That's great fun because Steve was panicking at one point when we got diamonds and we can get diamonds, no problem. So that's really funny. So I must push one channel back into next week. So next week 2 channels again.
Wow, it's gonna start piling up.
Yeah.
The second channel I've been watching is actually a guy who's commented on a few of the videos on our channel, and I thought I'd check out some of his stuff. Australian guy called Digital Drew 92. He's been playing a bit of Reckoning, Kings of Amalur. Yeah, Reckoning. He's been playing a bit of that. Quite interesting, quite amusing commentary as well. So he's doing a good job.
Cool.
And I've lost Skype. There it is. So there you go. There's my 2. I'm now. I'm no longer in debt.
You're even.
Yeah.
I'm not. I just pile it up to death until next year.
It's gonna get to.
I have 2.
It'll just be an hour-long episode of Genuine reading channel names.
Exactly. Can't wait. Episode 100.
Episode 100. Yeah, actually, I'm soon releasing my 100th video.
Oh, excellent! Well done.
Yeah,
congratulations.
So you guys, any milestones on your channel? Anything new on your channels?
We are very close to getting 150 subs, which is nice. Thank you for those subs out there who are subbed to us. So we'll be doing a video to celebrate that once it happens. Since we missed the 100 sub video, we're going for 150. I'd like to do things a little bit different.
It's working.
Nice.
So that's good.
I don't think there's been any milestones on my channel. I broke 10 dislikes. I'm up to 11.
Nice. Nice.
Feels good.
More like...
Yeah.
Yay.
So yeah, that was fun. Anything new? Nothing new at the moment, but I'm going away next weekend, and once I get back, I shall be playing a new game, and it's not Minecraft related.
Ooh.
But it's a secret.
So you're going away next weekend. That means we don't have you in PBB?
I'm afraid not. I'm going away to the big city, up to London.
Oh.
So, yeah. Country girl in the big city. It's gonna be fun.
We could just video conference. You have an iPhone, right?
Yeah. I can just
live
sit there in a
from
coffee
London.
shop with a latte. Yeah.
What a selling point. Awesome.
Good.
UGP?
Well,
Milestones?
I'm 19 subscriber away from showing my face on camera, and
Come on, people.
as I said, 100 video going up soon. Yeah, that's pretty much it. No new series coming up. Police Quest is ending soon, I guess. We'll have to find a new series then. But yeah.
We're going to probably be playing a bit of stuff together.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
True. Oh yeah, true. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, I'm professional.
I'm glad. I'm glad it really is meaningful.
I'm professional.
She's not invited.
Well,
you can join.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for being my guests today. I think this finishes off our topic with 50 minutes.
That's good.
And you said we wouldn't have much to talk about.
No.
We had big arguments and everything. It was amazing.
I didn't know a TG would go on my throat, and I will actually consider banning her from the servers now because
Nice. Yeah, I'll fucking kill you, Genuine.
Oh.
well, there you have it. Next week, it's apparently FG alone in PvP.
Yeah, just myself.
PB.
Oh, you're not here either, Genuine.
Yeah, well, you kill me. You
Yeah.
just
Oh yeah, sorry. Oh, God.
yeah. So, thanks so much for watching. Thanks to my guests, Ephjizilla and TeeggieBeeggie.
Bye.
I will cut out that awkward pause. Bye!
Bye.